So today we're wrapping up a project with a new client who is they focus on children's dentistry and they're very new. They opened up around 4 months ago and they wanted us to help with the setup of their advertising, but they weren't ready yet to pay for us for the maintenance and management. It's understandable because it can be a bit pricey, but I realized that a lot of dental practices are in this situation where they're looking for help with setting up their advertising so that they can grow and get the initial patients. And they want to handle the management and optimizations themselves at first because of the costs. And so in this video, I thought I would kind of break down that barrier and show you how you can do the work of management and optimization. And so if you needed to get a strong advertisement system set up, what you could do is pay the lower initial cost of having someone set it up in a way that's good, and then do the work of optimization yourself. So in the description, I'm going to share a decision tree flowchart, and this is an internal document that I created for our own team. And it's going to walk you through the decision-making process for optimizing your Google advertisements. It's pretty complex, but it's also set pretty logically. So you can just follow the decision tree. It's going to ask you some questions. And if you say yes, then you go one direction. If you say no, you go the other direction. So it should be relatively straightforward. With that said, there is also a question about, okay, do we do Google or do we do Meta? We've tried Meta, which means Facebook and Instagram. Let's say we've tried Meta, but the results weren't great. So therefore, we're going to rely on Google, or we're going to rely on Meta because the results on Google weren't as good. I've seen both cases where both are true. And I want to show you the reasons why we choose Google and Meta. And also a quick word on the third category, which are the others, things like TikTok, things like advertising on Yahoo or Bing. So with Google, one of the primary advantages is that you get to target people when they are specifically searching for something. So we know that there is intention behind these searches. That said, you can advertise on things like how long do braces take, which is a very low intent search that someone might make. And it's not necessarily it doesn't mean that they're going to become patients because how long do braces take can mean anything. Maybe they already met with the provider and they're getting braces and now they just want to reassure themselves and figure out how long it's going to take. Or they're in the process of still deciding and they're not ready to pull the trigger on getting braces. A whole lot of reasons. But the main idea is that we want to target and focus on keywords where the searches kind of imply higher intent. Now, on the flip side, Meta, you don't really have people searching. It's going to be very rare that someone decides to go on Facebook to find the best dentist or on Instagram to find the best dentist. But what Meta does very well is that they categorize and segment people based on their psychographics. So what are they interested in? What do they spend their attention looking into? And what that lets us do is like understand, okay, this group of people, they're more likely to engage with cosmetic stuff or invest in things like preventive stuff or health in general, right? And that gives you a audience base that you can connect with and advertise to. And so both platforms work. What you have to understand is that they serve different purposes. So if let's say you want to get more emergency patients, in that case, you should probably leverage Google more because that is a situation where people have more problems and they're urgently looking to get a solution, right? They're solution seeking in that state. And so if you ran ads on Meta for emergency dentists, it's very unlikely that you're going to find someone who's in the right mind or in right situation with the right mind state to actually work with you and get emergency services done. Whereas if you're on Google, you're more likely to come across people who are looking for an emergency or a dentist who provides emergency service at that point. So, and on the flip side, if you're doing more elective stuff, maybe more cosmetic stuff, it's less likely, or it's more likely that it's going to be on people's minds, but a fewer percentage of them are actually going to be in that phase where they're actively looking and searching for a provider to schedule an appointment, right? So in that case, you might find better results on Meta, where you can start talking about braces and showing off different promotions, and you're more likely to get someone to make that leap rather than waiting for them to be ready to make that leap themselves. All right. And the approach I also recommend is that if you're not working with something super urgent, like emergency dental care, then what you can do is you can set up Google in such a way that once they come onto your website from the ad and they don't convert, meaning they don't become a lead, meaning that they don't fill out a form or they don't give your office a call or they don't book online, then what you can do is retarget them on Meta, right? Because from Google, we have high intent because we've set it up that way. And so we know that the person who came onto your website was in a situation where they were very interested in the service you provide. But for whatever reason, they didn't actually submit their information, they didn't call your office. Then what you could do is retarget them on the Meta platform, because Google ads can be quite costly. There's only limited numbers of keywords that show high intent. Things like dentist near me, it shows high intent. And so you have a lot of offices who are bidding to show up for that keyword, for that search. But there's only 3 spots at the top of Google ads on the Google search results. So it can drive prices up very high. But on Meta, remember, we're targeting to a broader audience. They're scrolling more, so there's more opportunities for your ads to show up. And so the costs typically are cheaper on Meta. So when you take this hybrid approach, what you can do is find those people who didn't convert, who have high intent, and then you can retarget them on Meta. So whenever they're using Instagram or whenever they're using Facebook, your ads show up for those people who know you have high intent until they convert, or until, let's say, like 30 to 90 days pass, and we can kind of, it's safe to assume that they probably aren't interested anymore. So with this approach, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get high intent and also lower costs with Meta and or Facebook and Instagram. So that's an approach I would advise you to look into if you're able to, if your service permits it. Some services like Botox, they're in a gray area, and these platforms won't really let you advertise, which is unfortunate, but you also have to look into the regulations of those services. So that's it for the big picture. Meta advertising, I don't have an optimization guide. It's more straightforward than it is with Google ads. So if you look at the decision tree for Google ads, most of the principles are going to still apply to Meta ads. So you can understand the principles and then apply that to Meta ads. And for Meta ads, it's going to be rarer that you have to do more optimizations because of the nature of the hybrid setup. If you didn't have a hybrid setup, you would have to create more ad variants, test which ones work best, test the headline and description, similar to the principles of Google ads. But if you take the hybrid approach, then you have a smaller pool of people who are coming in and being qualified through Google ads, and you're running the same advertisements to those people. So you don't have to do quite as much optimization, but you still can. And then the principles that are in that decision flow chart would apply. All right, so that being said, I am planning on releasing a course in a couple of months, I think 1 or 2 months. The third section of it will comprehensively cover advertising, but not like in a way where it's like you're going to become a Google Ads expert by any means. It's not going to go through that granular level of detail, but it's going to show you the main things, the key levers that are going to affect your Google ads and how you can really jumpstart and maximize it so you can close the gap between the initial patients who come into the door, who will then meet with your value innovated practice, which is the first part of the course. I'm going to teach you how to become more valuable to patients in a way that the average dental practice doesn't do. And so when those people come in with ads, then they're going to be able to or you're going to be able to shortcut the exponential process of developing word of mouth, which can take a long time because you need a lot of people to come in and interact with you before word of mouth really starts to kick in. Hence why we leverage advertisements in the short term or initially to get you to meet those initial people who will then spread the word about you. So stay tuned for that course. I'll probably release more videos regarding it as it comes out, and my future videos, once it's released, will probably have that course in the description as a link as well. So that's it for this video. Make sure you download the link. Feel free to share it with other people for the decision tree. I think information is becoming more of a commodity. It's very rare these days where you have some secret information or some something behind a paywall that others can't access in order to get you an advantage, because it's so easy to transmit information like I am to you, and it's easier for information to be found with search engines like Google or even like AI search. Information is also becoming a commodity. It's not becoming a significant advantage for most businesses. And what is becoming more of an advantage is the characteristics of it. Like, are you building trust? Are you being generous? Are you being empathetic? That kind of work is going to be way larger in terms of separating you from other dental practices who are closely guarding their information that they think others can't access, or holding back on the level of generosity that they give to their patients. But we'll go over these details more in future videos and in the course as well. So hope you like this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.